Hello everyone, it is Beyond the Plate. Welcome back or to our channel. Today we're going to be talking about potato chips, our very best friend. To anyone who has made a promise to yourself to just stick to one potato chip, you probably ended up breaking that promise. Maybe you ate one handful, maybe two handfuls, or you just ended up eating the entire bag. Our hands just keep dipping in and out of the potato chip bag until we realize we are left with none. Why is it so hard for us to stop eating chips after just one? Many scientists today suspect that among all the many reasons why we are so attracted to these foods, even on a full stomach, the greatest suspect is the high ratio of fats and carbs. Fats and carbohydrates send a pleasing, euphoric signal to the brain, which provokes us to pursue eating more of these delicious foods. To test whether this was true, a research team from Germany allowed rats to feast on 3 different foods: potato chips, a mix of fat and carbs, and lastly, a bland old standard animal chow. The fats and carbs content in both Group 1 and Group 2 were equal. If the previous claim was true, the rats would feast equally on potato chips and the fat and carb mixture. However, the actual results were surprisingly different. What the researchers found was that the rodents preferred potato chips over the other 2 options. If it's not just the fats and carbs, what other factors line the chips that make them so desirable? The answer turns out to be salt. In fact, the salt in potato chips makes them as addictive as drugs. In chemistry, salt is a crystalline compound called sodium chloride, or NaCl, that occurs as a mineral constituent of seawater modified for food seasoning, mixed as a preservative, and etc. It is a chemical compound formed from an acid-base reaction. If you haven't guessed already by the taste, potato chips contain high amounts of salt. Studies show that eating salt triggers the release of dopamine, a chemical messenger that controls your brain's pleasure center. When you eat a single potato chip, your brain receives the reward feeling, which induces your body to crave more of the euphoric feeling. While a food craving can be an indicator of your body's nutritional deficiencies, these salt cravings are mostly tied to feelings of boredom or stress. This is proven in an Australian study where 48 adults were allowed to eat as much as they wanted over 4 different lunch periods. They all received pasta meals that looked the same except for one small tweak: the salt and fat content in the pasta sauce. Participants tried each one: low-fat, low-salt pasta, low-fat, high-salt pasta, high-fat, low-salt pasta, and lastly, high-fat and high-salt pasta. They ate for over 4 weeks and results in food intake were recorded. Despite the fat content, volunteers generally consumed 11% more calories and food when the sauce was higher in salt content. Conversely, participants who ate meals in high-fat content ate 60% more calories, but not necessarily more food in terms of weight and amount. This is due to the fact that fat itself is high in calories, so even though they might have eaten less food, the high-fat eaters were eating more calories. Fat is a kind of macromolecule that is essential for our body's needs and metabolism. Specifically, fat makes you feel satisfied and full, so people will not necessarily want to keep eating fat. On the other hand, when the food is high in fat, it is very hard to practice self-control. The salt not only has a highly addictive taste, but it serves as a comfort food for our brain and body. Why we crave salt varies from person to person based on their age, sex, weight, body composition, lifestyle factors like diet and activity level, and overall health and consumption. For some, salt cravings can be indicators for salt or sodium deficiencies, certain health conditions, or physical needs. So, how can we tackle salt cravings? Although salt is essential for optimal health and our body's cellular functions, we need to be mindful of our consumption of salt. Generally, we need to consider where we are getting salt from, how we consume, and focus on intaking natural salts rather than high levels of sodium found in processed and fast foods. Though there are many ways you can control salt cravings, here are some of more practical ways you can start today. First, meet your need for taste with herbs and spices that are salt-free. Second, give it time. Adjust and slowly decrease your intake of salt gradually over time. Third, work it out by participating in sports and physical activity. Next, eat fresh. Have a clean eating mindset with different fresh fruits, low-fat protein, vegetables, and good fats. Next, take a look at your diet by balancing your meals. And lastly, read labels. As you can see on the right, by eating better and through regular exercise, we can induce positive feeling and overall feel good. Thank you for listening to our short video on salt addiction today. This is Seeun from Beyond the Plate. We hope to see you next time!